Hello all, Old Geek here, and I'm going to be taking a look at another old magazine in this video. I've gone through the first year or so of Dragon, but over on this side of the Atlantic, another magazine entered the market. And whereas you over the western side of the Atlantic got Dragon, this is what we got. And I remember this being on the shelves of the Games Workshop in my local city centre, and that would have been about 1983 when I was first starting going in there, because that was the time when Games Workshop covered all role-playing games, and this was pretty much Games Workshop's own in-house magazine. And this is White Dwarf, and this copy I've got here shows its issue number 1, originally from July 1977. It cost 60 pence, which was equivalent of $2, but this appears to be a reprint. As you can see under there, it says second reprint, August 1979. I don't know if the text and presentation is totally original. I don't know if they reformatted anything or redid any of the artwork. I can only judge it now, assuming that it wasn't changed. Because, quite simply, I don't know. So we have to assume that this is a copy as it was from summer of 77. Already you can see from this cover, they haven't gone for the bright, somewhat garish colour approach that Dragon magazine had at this point. There's a very simple and very effective monochrome. And I think this artwork and the cover of what looks to be a priestess of some sort being beheaded by a dwarven sword, this is a good piece of artwork. This is certainly well above what was in Dragon magazine in its first year of production. So they've got the jump there. This is a decent piece of artwork, specifically for the time. Well done, Chris Beaumont, the artist. Very nice beginning. As with Dragon, we start with a page of adverts. Thane Tostig, the ultimate fighting man. It's miniatures. Fantasy rules for Thane Tostig. Is okay, 70p for the rules. It looks like it's a miniatures game. Evil, mean and rotten. Monsters. 52-page rule book. £4.95, postage free. See, the Brits were making games. That's made in London by looks of things. Illustrated by Liz Danforth. Merp. It's mostly second edition Merp. Some very nice artwork in there. That's a name I know well. Chris Harvey would like to wish White Dwarf a happy first issue and prosperous future. Oh, this is an advert for a magazine called Overkill. £2.25 for 5 issues. That's 45p an issue. That's not too bad. Free mailing service. Excellent. And a discount from Games Workshop and all sorts. TSR, all sorts. Excellent. That's really good. That's really good. Hang on. Now, you can't quite tell by my accent, but I used to have much more of an accent than I do now. But I am from the West Midlands. In fact, this address here is probably about 5 miles from my house. Oh, I wonder if he still lives there. Probably doesn't. Anyway, not wanting to dock somebody. Right. Contents page. Right. Over the past 2 years, the state of the art of wargaming has seen dramatic change. Until then, only tanks, French hussars, and ancient Britons were to be seen roaming the wargaming tables. But in 1974, 2 Americans by the names of Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson had just finished putting together a set of rules that were to revolutionise the hobby. They had invented Dungeons and Dragons. A foreword written by Ian Livingstone, who is a bit of a god in gaming terms. He wrote the Fighting Fantasy books. He owned the first big company I worked for. And I've played cricket with him. There we go. So what's in this first edition? White Dwarf became very much a miniatures magazine towards the end of the 80s. It was just Warhammer by then. But this, of course, these are the days before Warhammer. We've got Metamorphosis Alpha, a D&D society, Monster Mark system, Open Box, which is game reviews, competitive D&D, D&D puzzles, D&D campaigns, the Warlord, about a war game, and D&D editions called Treasure Chest. So it's largely D&D based. Let's dive in. Okay, full page piece of artwork. Same artist. It's a bit meh. He's got tentacles. Tentacles are good. But there's a dagger sticking out of his leg. Doesn't look particularly menacing though. Looks like a two-headed angry teenager. No, I can see why this was inside and the other piece was on the cover. The other piece was much better. Not particularly impressed by that one. Metamorphosis Alpha is sci-fi. This is something for my friend Elfbait to have a look at some point, because I'm not going to read this. Sci-fi is not my thing. It wouldn't be fair to it. And I'm not interested. D&D Society news. Ooh. The formal D&D Society was formed with the intention of bringing together players who were without co-players. Okay, so it's people finding gamers, people finding friends. And this is based in Surrey, which is on the edge of London. Good. Don't know about anything about Stellar Conquest. Tally-Ho Games. That's a very British name. Tally-Ho. Oh, marvellous. That's in London, North Finchley. So it's very much London-based at the moment. British Fantasy Society. Okay. Dagenham, which is close to London. But there is a section from your US inquiry. So we're assuming they were going to get some US readers. The Monster Mark system. Okay. Out of the confusion of varying monster statistics comes a new system for assessing a monster's relative nastiness. Right. Monster levels. Challenge rating, as it gets called nowadays. Okay. Right. Okay, right. I've just glanced down at the maths before I even start reading it. And you can tell that this is written by nerds for nerds, because it's very mathematical. Very mathematical. My system for getting monsters of a suitable level is to just eyeball them. And it's what fits with the terrain and the scenario, and if it's too difficult for the player characters, then they can run away. Other than that, I'll just eyeball them. So, while I... Oh, another name I just noticed. It's by Don Turnbull, who was involved in TSR UK. Had a writing credit for Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. All is forgiven, Don. All is forgiven. I don't care if you're complete not a maths nerd. You wrote the best AD&D adventure of all time, and I can forgive you for that. And I think this is a wonderful article as a result, even though I'm not going to read it because I'm not a mathematician. Oh God! Look at all this. Look at all this. These are the days when we had a lot of time on our hands. In fact, this was 6 years after the invention of the pocket calculator. So these are maths nerds who've just bought themselves a shiny new pocket calculator and want to show it off. Look what I've got. It does sums. Right, okay. Too much. Too much. It's still going. Too much. Oh, boobies. Too much. Sorry. I was distracted. Okay. Yeah, but how many pages was that? 5 or 6 pages on a system for grading monsters is too much. when you can just eyeball it. Okay, Open Box examines science fiction and fantasy games and rulebooks currently in the shops. The reviews have been written by either independent authorities or members of the White Dwarf test panel. Ratings on a 1 to 10 scale are given by the test panel, and those immediately below are shown for comparison purposes. So they're using D&D and diplomacy to gauge everything. Let's see what they think of D&D and diplomacy on these scales. Diplomacy, complexity 5. Yeah, maybe lower than that. D&D, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a 10 complexity for the referee. Certainly not the early editions, not by what's come out since, but obviously they had nothing to judge it by then. Skill, 10-10, both of them. Atmosphere. Depends how you grade the atmosphere. Certainly diplomacy can cause a certain type of atmosphere in the room. Originality, yeah, they were original in their day. Presentation, I think diplomacy looks better than a 7. Early D&D certainly was a bit scrappy. Overall, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Yeah, love them. Love them. Love them to bits. So they're grading games according to those. And they've looked at Sorcerer. I've never heard of it. Very average. Starship Troopers. Heard of that? Avalon Hill. They are known for making things a bit complicated. Yeah. Avalon Hill. Got Civilization and Advanced Civilization. Love the game, but yes, it's fiddly. It's fiddly. Complexity 9. Yeah. No, yeah. But Avalon Hill were an iconic name in the industry. Other Avalon Hill games I've got. Status Pro Football I got in about 1988, 89, the American football card game. Used to like that. That was complex as well. Competitive D&D. Title competitive D&D is really a contradiction in itself, since it implies the existence of a non-competitive version. A strange game indeed. Well, in the sense of players competing against the environment, I think competitive is the wrong game to use. Challenging is better. So I don't really agree with the use of the term competitive here, Mr. Fred Hemmings. And I always saw competitive D&D as being the structure at a convention. The C modules, Timochan and Inverness, and those sort of modules with a scoring system, the Slavers modules. That to me is how I think of competitive D&D, where it's a group competing against another group in the same adventure. You're not competing against the DM or against members of your same group. It can be competitive against the denizens of the dungeon. But that's the term's challenge rather than competitive. Okay, I'm not. It might be that the article goes on to other things, and I might be getting my wires crossed here, but I don't particularly like that description. The end of the No Way Out. Oh, No Way Out. Puzzles expert David Wells turns his talent to D&D with a regular column of puzzles, riddles, and cryptograms based on D&D adventures. Okay, puzzles to use in your game. Let's just hope your players don't read White Dwarf. But yeah, I like puzzles in D&D, and I will come back and read this. That's something I would find helpful. It'll give ideas anyway. You don't have to follow the puzzles exactly as they are, but it gives ideas. Is D&D a talking book or a serious war game? Both schools of thought are analysed to discover which is best suited for D&D campaigns. I know D&D came from serious war games. I know that was its evolution, but for me it has never been a serious war game. I don't like certainly what early Wizards of the Coast did with it in terms of making it into more of a board game, more of a tactical board game through 3.5 and 4th edition. I prefer it played in a more free manner. And even though I will use a board from time to time, there'll be no squares on it or anything, no measurements, just a rough representation. I don't ever start measuring. I don't ever start breaking it down into units and whatever. There's behind me here battle system. There's a battle system for that, and you can bring that into a D&D game, but it's a different rule set. It's an adapted rule set. So no, I don't see D&D as a serious war game. I know some people do, but I don't. I don't. Anyway, this is an article I will come back and read this, because this sort of, I want to see what people thought in the early days. Let's see if this advert is for somewhere outside London. No, it's London as well. The Keeper of the Flame. My eyes aren't good enough to read this. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's funny or not, but it's too small. My eyes, I can't focus on that at all. Need new glasses. I can say the artwork's a bit naff. Is it as bad as it, though? In the Dragon, I don't know. The Warlord. Oh, okay. 10 years is a long time for a classic game to go unnoticed. It happened, though, to the Warlord. Okay, so this is a Steve Jackson of Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone fame, not the Steve Jackson of Steve Jackson Games in America, a different Steve Jackson. Writes about a game called Warlord, which looks like it never really took off. Now, I played quite a lot of diplomacy, caused a lot of wars between me and my friends when we were teenagers, but I'd never heard of the Warlord, and I had a friend in that group who was really into war games, really, really into them, and he didn't have it. So, again, that's something I might go back and have a look at and see what sort of history there is about it, because I will play those sort of games. Nav War Fantasy. Where's this based? I'm just looking. See, E12. It's London again. Barnet. Oh, mail order. Barnet, Hertfordshire. Oh, EN. Oh, that's Enfield. And High Street North. Right. Okay. A company they deal with are in London. So this is around the London area again. Stop it with your London. Treasure chest. What's wrong with D&D and what I'm doing about it? Even in the early days, nerds had opinions. Okay, this is additions to D&D. Amendments. Helm of Vision. Changing the combat system, the magic system. Oh, he's torn it apart. So back in the old days, people house ruled. Of course they did. It's always been part of the game. House ruling. Very few people have ever played D&D perfectly by the book, rules as written. Very few. What's this? A joke character class. See, we in Britain, we could have a sense of humour as well, America. And here is a class called the Pervert. I've just seen... Oh, spelling mistake. Level 1. There's no such thing as a peeping Tom. Peeping Tom. Perverts are armour class 7 when wearing black leather armour and using an unsheathed weapon. Double entendre. That's straight out of a Carry-On film. But suffer a 50% chance of loss of sight per melee turn if the weapon is handheld. Suggested artifact, Elven Dirty Mac. Anyway, before this gets demonetized, let's move on. But let's linger over that. That's funny. That's genuinely funny. It's taking the piss. All right. Extra effects of poison? Yeah, why not? Why not? Strength of the poison, constitution, level of monster all coming into effect. Why not? Classifieds. Oh, it's an advertising rate. 5 pence per word. 10p per word for trade. Oh, an advert here. Classified advert for Games of Liverpool. That's a bit closer to my house than... No, it's about the same as London, to be honest. Oh, well. But it's good to see somewhere outside of... London being featured. Right, help. Oh, club contacts. Oh, these are personal club contacts. Right, okay. Yeah, advertise your club. Advertise your club. Letters. Oh, this piece of artwork. Wasn't that redone for the AD&D? Is that a version of that or something very, very similar? Was in one of the AD&D rule books. It looks very much like an Earth Arcana. I wonder. Solutions to No Way Out. Right, these are the solution to the puzzles. Fine, yep. Caption contest. Right, so there's what appears to be some earthy golem thing squeezing a thing with tentacles on its head. Both look very happy about it. So if anyone in anyone in the comments wants to come up with a solution, a caption, get your words out, John. If anyone in the comments would like to submit a caption for this, the closing date will have been 46 years ago, but you can still try. And of course, an advert for Games Workshop. And I assume this is the original Games Workshop, which of course is in London, in Hammersmith. Let's have a look at some of the prices. I've got to zoom in because it's really... I've got to lean forward anyway because it's really small. Micro games. How much does D&D cost? Where's D&D on there? Oh, the AD&D Player's Handbook. Right, so this reissue of the magazine, it looks like it has been edited because this was originally done in 1977 and this was reissued in 1979. And the AD&D Player's Handbook came out in 1978. So there are clearly some amendments. That's a bit naughty. This might not be the original, which is a shame because that's going to affect my overall view. And shiny stuff, clad ladies to end. An advert for Gamma World. So I'm going to go back to this. Okay, let's have a little look. Modules in stock. G1, G2, G3. That's in 1978, yeah. £2.75 for Vault of the Drow. £1.95 for early Gs. I wish there were that much nowadays. B1's there as well. Some white box stuff as well. Original D&D supplement. Blackmoor, Greyhawk, Eldritch Wizardry, Gods, Demigods and Heroes. All about £3.40. Oh, superb. Right, so... that's just thrown the cat among the pigeons because if this was the original 1977 version of this magazine, then the artwork, the layout, the structure and the contents blow early Dragon magazines from 1977 out of the water. It looks and feels much more professional. It feels more useful. So that cover art was a lot better than Dragon was doing. But I don't know now, seeing this advert, which is clearly from 1978 or later, I don't know if that comparison now works. Because did they change anything between the two? And obviously, a year or two on, I believe Dragon magazine is going to be a lot more professional looking than those first 5 or 6 issues. So it's hard to make that judgment. But what I'm going to say, for first edition of a magazine, I think White Dwarf knocks it out of the park. I really do. Yeah, there was too much maths. But apart from the too much maths, I think that was pretty good. Humour, useful articles, opinions, articles that will get people talking. You want people to get a bit hot under the collar and write in and say, oh, that article was rubbish, or whatever. You want them to do that, and that's exactly what this issue does. I like it. I like it a lot. Well, I've been the Old Geek, and that's been a browse through White Dwarf issue 1. I hope you found it enlightening. I hope you've enjoyed my silly commentary. Until the next video, see ya!